We have several goals. The first one is to get this boat ready for Pasco and Seattle. And we are going to run the 440 the full season. We plan to extend the original intent of that boat to keep drivers qualified and to get drivers qualified. We have several drivers that are interested and they're very anxious to get in that boat. We also intend to keep Justin qualified. You'll see him run it at least the minimum amount to keep his license for the next season, and Aaron Salmon is also scheduled to keep his license. So you'll see those drivers in the 440. Things got pretty complex here at Hydraville. This boat ran the Leland gearbox with the T55 engine, and we are going to the other style gearbox that Budweiser used and Pay and Pack turbine used and all that, and it's a significantly different gearbox, so we're changing everything. We had to knock every motor mount, every gearbox mount, all the mounts out of the boat. We're basically starting over with the engine, transmission, alignment, and mounting system. So that's a pretty big one. As everybody knows, Dave Vilwalk is at my shop quite often, and he is helping us with skid fins and rudders and all the other mechanical things that he and I have worked on for years. We pioneered a lot of stuff at Budweiser, and we're going to implement a lot of those things and try and make this thing run really fast. The rule book says you have to take them off the boat and have them inspected every 2 years, I believe it is. We're going to do it on this boat because we've never done it before on this boat. So we're taking everything off and getting it all inspected to verify that it's capable of taking the stresses that these boats go through. That way we know we have a starting point on our inspection. The 440, we just do it every year anyway. So. It's hard to say. It opens up a whole new series of thinking. I'm hoping that it's a good thing. It should make a lot of conversation. Somebody mentioned that there's that you might consider a possibility of having team championships, where the two boat teams, the combined points is another reward, which is an interesting thing. I don't think we've ever had that before in the sport. And that might be something worth looking into. I know when Ted Porter had two boats, they talked about not having the two boats in the same heat together. We have to look at that, see what happens there. But this is kind of for having uncharted waters here on several two-team boats. What's going to happen? I'm sure it'll be interesting. This,
the big thing, yeah.
We get to have a real unlimited hydroplane. All of you out there in Facebook land that don't think the 440 is a real unlimited, go get one or try and do it yourself. I'm really excited about running in the front, or being in the hunt to run in the front. That's what everybody tries to do. And we've taken our time to get to this point. We didn't jump in right from the very start. It really wasn't our goal to begin with, but this opportunity came. It's a pretty nice boat. It's a very, very well cared for boat. And we should be able to do pretty well with it. So we're pretty excited about that. I think the GPS starting system is going to help. The idea behind that is, as with the N2 and fuel flow monitoring, after everybody realized that they weren't going to get away with anything, they stopped fudging, for lack of a better word. I'm not going to say the other word. And I think the speed limit will be adhered to when they realize that it comes out in a black and white printout on a computer and says, you went under the speed limit for this long at this time. Done. we really set up the referees to be chastised unfairly with those lights. The lights are white against a rooster tail, which is white, and there's 6 of them out there in a final heat, so you've got 2 referees, maybe 3 sets of eyes trying to find all 6 boats with all the lights, and it's just not fair to try and call that. It really isn't. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. There's a few other things that the competition committee is talking about that might help as well. I think we're starting to see a wave of some more competition. We're going to be in there with this one, and Graham's doing a really good job. Home Street's got 2. Looks like the Detroit group is going to at least have 1, maybe 2, and they're all going to be pretty competitive. The boat counts aren't real high, but the competition is going to be huge, in my opinion.
I didn't really get involved watching hydroplane racing until I was married to my first husband. We lived on Mercer Island, and we could actually see part of the course. So we would always have the parties when they televised it all day on Sunday. We'd go out on the deck, and the house that we had was right on the water. Actually had a flat roof faced west, so we could go up on the big flat roof and watch the boats come around, and that's how I first got interested in it. I never actually went to the races just because in my childhood my dad would never have gotten into that crowd aspect and done that. So we watched it on TV, but I never was. It was just a sport to watch. I like sports. I like football. I like racing. And then on Mercer Island, it got to be something that was a tradition that we just watched every year. I didn't have a particular favorite boat. I just enjoyed watching the races. And the Blue Angel would fly right over our house. And I'm looking up over and going, oh my God. It's like, I can see you in the cockpit up there. So it was really cool. So after that, not much happened until I met Kelly. And then some friends of mine took us. We went to Haston and Racing. That was my first time I'd ever actually been up close and personal with races and racers. And so he kind of introduced me. He was racing the UL 40 at that time, and I got really interested in that. And then he started talking about all the races he'd done and the awards he'd won and the records he'd set, but that he'd never ever. And he used to kind of whine a little bit that he had always been promised rides on these boats that he crewed so hard for and spent so much work on, and they'd say, yeah, you're going to get to drive, and then of course something would come up and he didn't get to drive. So I just kind of said, you know what, that's just wrong. I mean, you've been doing this all your life. It's your passion. You need to be able to do this. So let's figure out a way. And we figured out a way and found this orange boat over there, and I said, yeah, let's do this. And we've been just going ever since. So,
now, are you going to tell the punchline about Mercer Island and who your next door neighbor was?
Oh yeah, well, Bill Muncie was our next door neighbor.
I was waiting for you to say that.
Now that was before my time, but Joe, my first husband, would go down. Bill Muncie and his dad Bill Muncie would come up and borrow Joe's tools for the boat, and they were Joe's dad's tools who had passed away, so they were very sentimental, his tools, and Bill Muncie would never bring them back. So they didn't have a very good relationship.
The old borrow the tool and never return it.
So yeah, that was my up close and personal. I didn't know Bill Muncie. I don't know if Fran was somebody from the family was still living there when I was there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Fran or not, but anyway.
To be honest with you, the first memory I have of unlimited hydroplanes was when the slow-mo did its 360 flip. I was up in Canada. My father owned a poultry and veterinary supply warehouse, wholesaling business, and a man named Ed Oban owned a boat, and they went up into the Desolation Sound and up into the Broughtons every year, and they invited my family to go up there. And they were listening to the races on a radio somehow, and I don't remember how because I was really young back then. And they talked about the flip. And I remember these two guys were listening to it on a radio and discussing, I think it did a 360 and landed right side up, and all the conversation about what happened.
Slow motion 5 is in the north turn, making one complete flip. There's your white helmet, ladies and gentlemen.
So that was probably my first memory. Another one that comes to mind, we were buying a dog. The family was buying a dog, and we wanted to get a Brittany Spaniel. And we went to this family's house to look at the litter of dogs. And this particular dog was born when the Hawaii Kai was qualifying. And they named the dog Kai. And you don't guess that it was any question of to which dog was going to get picked when that happened. And Kai was with us for a long time. It was a really cool dog. So there's a couple of childhood memories. The one that I talk about a lot is where my dad would dump us off at the tunnels at the floating bridge, and we'd walk to the pits and spend all day during qualifying when qualifying was all week, and then we'd walk back and we'd be standing next to I-90 waiting for him to slam on the brakes coming out of the tunnel at the bridge in his Oldsmobile. And we'd jump in the back and go. I mean, if I did that with my kids, I'd be thrown in jail for child abandonment now. You know, we were gone all day. We were in grade school. Nobody thought much about it then. The punchline on that one is she said, I'm not going to have you on your deathbed wishing you had done something. The clock's ticking. Either go do it or shut up. That's how it really was.
That's the origin of bucket list race.
But it got it done, didn't it?
So we teamed up and got that boat to begin with, and that's where the bucket list thing came from. I mean, but you don't have to be an old guy or an old person to have a bucket list. It's just a matter of goals. Bucket lists are goals. You know?
When we first got it, we had a crew that was not really young, and so Kelly came up with that wonderful name, Bucket List Racing, and one of the guys goes, you can't call it that. It makes us sound like a bunch of old guys. And Kelly goes, yeah,
guess
pretty
what?
much.
Guess what?
But it kind of stuck, and now everybody, enjoys the name, and so it's kind of fun.
You can't deny your age. I mean,
yeah, our first tire on the trailer that it was towing it. That was our first phrase was Bucket List Racing. What's on yours?
Yeah.
So now it's Bucket List Racing, home of the 440, but now the 99. But that's how we started it with everybody should have a bucket list, and people would come to the races and we'd ask them what their bucket list item was. And it's interesting some of the answers you get.
Yeah. The most common answer was skydiving. Go figure. Jump out of a perfectly good plane. Okay, if that's your goal, go ahead. But that was, of all the ones, there was. Things were a little different back then. Everybody on the team back then was an engine guy. And you sent the boat out to get it fixed. That's pretty much what happened, with the exception of probably with Cyril. They did in-house boat stuff. And there's an exception. I mean, for the most part, people had other people fixing their boats for them. And as the thing went to the turbine and the engine failures slowed down, the crews started becoming more boat guys or chassis guys, for lack of a better word, if you want to go to the car racing thing. Instead of being motor guys, they're chassis guys in car racing. Well, we kind of went there too. And there's a lot of thought and time spent making the boat better because the engines are just kind of what they are. So I worked on V12s all the time, and so that was one difference in my opinion. The Squire Shop was a boat that was in the hunt, but it was usually a third place boat, if not further back than that at times. They tried to get to the front, but Budweiser and Atlas were pretty strong competitors, and then Circus came in, of course. I think I worked for Squire longer than anybody did. I went with the Dave Nolan boat, or the original first Squire boat, and then they bought the Circus. I worked on that for a couple of years, and then Bob bought the Atlas and all the Merlins when Atlas went with the turbine, and I worked with him for a year on that. Into the nuclear business and did some other robotics and stuff like that. That was really different back then. First stop was Miami. You go from Seattle to Miami, and that was a long trek to get down there. I remember the first race I ever went to was Miami with the Squire Shop. And the first time we put the boat in the water, we hydraulic the bottom off the boat, and it sank at the dock in the pits in salt water. Welcome to boat racing, or unlimited boat racing. So, and there was the Griffin Budweiser. Everybody's eating popsicles, waiting for the next round. It was interesting. It was a survival thing back then. A lot of times with those V12 engines. So Bernie bought the Light All-Star from Bob Taylor, and Ron Brown was running that program, and he asked me to help him a little bit. I was pretty busy doing the nuclear thing, but I helped him for a little while, doing some fiberglass work, and it didn't really pan out. I couldn't give him the time that he wanted, and so I stepped away again and did some limited racing, but most of my time was spent in the nuclear world, and I was a father by then, so that took a lot of time too. And then Dave went to work for Bernie. He called me and said, "Do you want to run the machine shop? Make propellers, rudder, skid fins, and all that stuff." And I said, okay, because Dave and I had been racing together for years in limiteds and stuff. And I knew that this might be something fun. So we started, we didn't start the propeller program. He already had it going. He did it with Frankel and those guys to begin with. And then when he went to Budweiser, they had a machine shop there. So we started, and they had their own program going too. So we had to kind of meld the two together. And there was a little strain there, but it worked itself out for us. And we're still building those propellers today. At one time, I think we had 40 propellers in our inventory, that's a lot of propellers. And every one of them was a little bit different. Some of them were duplicates just to have backup. But the propeller program is incredible. I mean, I'm amazed that people aren't doing more with propellers than unlimited. They're all running Elstrom propellers, and they get one propeller. It's one. And I mean, we build, 8 or 9 different ones. It just amazes me that they're doing that. But each their own. And we plan to use some of our propeller technology on this boat, see what it does. So, Bernie one time, Dave took a picture of me running the milling machine, and my hair was longer than it is now. And he sent it down to Florida. And the answer back was, "Who the hell is that running that machine?" Well, that's Kelly. Well, Who is he? Kind of. Dave says, he's our guy. He's making the propellers. He's a longtime friend, and that's what he's going to do. Well, can he get his haircut? Probably not. Shave the mustache? Oh, for sure not. Well, okay, but don't ever let him be in a Budweiser uniform. Okay. It was interesting working with Bernie because he didn't know me from Adam. But he'd call like at midnight. I'd be running the machine at night because I worked during the day. And he'd call from Florida at midnight. And the phone would ring, and I'd pick it up, and it was him. Well, I've been at the club. You know, I'm going home now. Just want to see how things are going. You know, and we'd talk for a half hour or something. And he was an interesting man. He really was. He was all about personal relationships. This is the most propellers we've made in a long time. Of course, everybody waits until spring, and it takes 2 weeks on this machine to make a propeller if nothing goes wrong. But before that, it takes a couple of days to just get the forging ready to go up on the machine. And you have to use that machine the same way. You have to put the hole in it and get the hub set and do the diameters and things like that. Then go get it broached, and then it comes back and goes up on the machine to do what you guys saw today. So it's about 2.5 weeks per propeller. Well, I got 12 propellers to do at 2 weeks. Do the math. And this is what happens every year, but it's really bad this year because some guys are buying propellers, which it's good for the sport, but it takes a lot of time away from this for me. I ask myself, why am I building my competitors' propellers? But what I do for the sport.